now we need to do our chat box. Okay. How's our chat box going to work? Well, our chat box is going to be part of the game's user interface, which is like graphical elements that are not in the game world, they're displayed above it. Things like health, menus, that kind of thing. Information about the game. So, because that's the case, I'm not going to put it inside my game world. I'm going to use the moving tool or the panning tool here, or you could use the minimap as well, and find the space just above the level. And in here is where I like to put interface elements, because it's pretty obvious they're not actually part of the world, they're kind of outside of it. So let's have a look at our interface elements that we have in this pack. So here we've got this smallish panel and this larger panel. We'll use the larger panel later. For now, we'll use this smaller panel, which is going to be our text display, our chat box. Okay, so we've got it up here. Let's add a script to this. We're going to get it so it can just receive that display chat message. So we'll right click on it and we'll add a script to it. Okay, so we want this to first start out invisible, and also it's quite a large object. We don't want it bumping into things. So we will disable its physics, and we'll do that when it's created. So we'll go to events and grab when created. And then in here, we want to go to physics and grab down the bottom, we want set physics enabled and set that to false. And then we also want it to be invisible. Oh, that's a good question. Good question. Let's rewind. So the question in the chat was, are we putting this in the characters layer? I'm going to save what I've got. When created, set physics enabled to false. I'll save that. And what are we going to call this? Let's call this chat box. Okay. So the question was, should it actually be in the characters layer? And no, that's good spotting. It shouldn't be in the characters layer. Let's actually delete that object, and we're going to make a new layer. Interface elements should all exist above everything else. You don't want parts of the game like characters or objects floating above your interface. The interface should always be on top of everything. So in our layers panel, we'll make a new layer, and let's double click on unnamed layer to rename it to user interface. And with this layer on top of everything else, we'll go and put our chat box back in there, this time in the user interface layer. Okay, so that will appear above everything. Alright, now I had my script that I was working on, so I'll go to my code sidebar and find my Chatbox script and attach it to that object there. Is that on there? Yes, good. So we'll go back to editing that. Okay, so we've disabled its physics. We also want it to go invisible so we don't see it straight away. So we'll go to looks and grab set visibility of myself and change that to false. Okay, so it'll start out invisible. It won't bump into anything. But we actually want it to appear when we send it that message display chat with our chat message. So we'll go to events and we'll go down to message sensing. Now so far we've been using this block, when I receive message, but we actually want, in this case we want to receive the message with some information attached. So that's like a more souped up version of that block. When I receive message with a value, let's grab that. When I receive message with a value, and the message here is going to be display chat. Display chat. And the value here is whatever message got sent along. Now, when we receive that display chat, when we go and talk to the friendly NPC, we want to display this chat box, so we'll make it visible. And the way that we'll do that is we'll go to looks and grab set visibility of myself to true. And let's test this out. If we click play, we'll walk down and talk to this guy. Now I'm not seeing the chat box. I want it to display here. The reason why it's not displaying here is we haven't actually told it where we want it to display, so it'll probably just be floating up outside here, which it is. Okay, so we can see it. We don't want it floating out there. We want it always on our screen, positioned probably down the bottom of our screen. So we need to go and do some positioning for that object. So let's close that. And now might be a good time to save our game as well. We close this script and then go File, Save Game. Okay, let's edit our Chatbox script again. And let's get it updating its position. Now we constantly want it positioning at the bottom of our screen, so we're going to use that constantly block from events. Constantly. We want to position it, and the positioning blocks are from transform. We want set X position of myself to 0. So we'll grab that. And we don't want it to go to 0. That would be in the very top left of the corner of the top left corner of the level. We want it actually to go to where the camera is. So let's go to looks. And the camera block we want is camera X from looks under the camera subheading, camera X. And we also want to vertically position it as well. So we'll duplicate that set X position block and change that X to a Y and change that camera X to a camera Y. Okay, let's play that. So I'll talk to the friendly NPC and see if the chat box appears, and it does, and it's floating. And on top of the camera, I actually want it to position down here, so I'm going to have to add some numbers to its position to get it to bump across a little, or to get it to bump down a little bit. So let's close that. Now, I want it to go down by 380 pixels. You might want to experiment with that number to find what works for you. So we want to use a plus block from operators, 1 plus 1. And remember, we want it to go down, so that's going to be in the Y position. Set the Y position of myself to camera Y plus 380. And camera X, do I want it to go across? Let's just have a look at what it does so far by moving it down by 380. Maybe 380 is a little too much. Let's try 350. Looks about right. Okay, now we want some text to display in here. He's trying to talk to us, so let's display what he wants to say in this panel. So we'll close that. Now, we want to use a text field for this. So we'll go to draw and we will create a new text field from our text section here. Draw, text, create text field with text. We'll grab that. Now, when do we want to do this? Let's do it as soon as it's created. Create the text field. And the text, we want it to say Let's just put some dummy text in here, some example text in here until we get it receiving the proper text. So this, how about just text will display in here. Okay. And we also want the text field to start invisible as well. We don't want to see it just yet. So we'll go to looks and grab set visibility of myself to true. Drag that into the when created underneath the text field block and get myself out of there. We want to set the visibility of the text field to false. So we'll place that myself with the instance text field block from variables. Set visibility of text field to false. Okay, so we won't see it, but it should say text will display in here. We want it to become visible when we receive that display chat message. So let's duplicate set visibility of text field to false. Put it in here when we receive that message and set the visibility of the text field to true. So it will show itself. And we also want to position the text field on the chat box as well. So we want to duplicate these two blocks, setting the X and setting the Y position. Duplicate those. Now these two, we don't want to be positioning myself again. That would be repetitive. So we'll get myself out of there. We want to this time be positioning the text field. So let's go to variables and grab instance text field. So setting the position of the text field to the camera X and the same thing for its Y position. Now we're going to have to play with these numbers to get it looking right, but let's see what it looks like so far. So the text field will get created, it'll have some text in there, it'll go invisible, and when we touch the NPC we'll receive that message, it'll become visible, and it'll constantly be positioning itself according to where the camera is. So let's play that and see what happens. Text will display in here. Very good. So that all appears. Now we'll make that look a little bit nicer, and we'll also have a way of dismissing this chat box because now it's just kind of stuck here forever. Now we're getting near the end of the stream, so if anyone has any questions they want to throw in the chat, feel free to do so. I'll just keep working on this. So we want to improve that text. So okay, so in here we're positioning the text field to camera X and camera Y plus 350. Let's make it go across by, let's say 30 pixels. So I'll use this plus block here, and I'll say camera X plus 30. So that'll get across, bumped across a little bit, and then I'll bump it down a little more than this. Let's try 380. Test that out. And if your character is really far away, you might just want to move the player closer. Text will display in here. That actually looks pretty good. Okay, so our chat box is positioned correctly and it's showing this text. Now we want it to actually show the text that we broadcast from that display chat message. We want to use this value, which was that text that we sent along. The way that we'll do that is we'll update the text field and use this value with a block from draw under text, set text of instance text field to blank. So that block from draw, set text of instance text field. And let's pop that in when I receive display chat. When I receive display chat with a value. Now the text of the text field will be set to whatever that value is. So we can throw this empty text block away and put value in that gap. Value is stored as a variable right there. So we'll grab that value block and put it inside the set text block. Okay, let's play that to test it out. And if we go and talk to our friendly NPC, they will show us that text. Now in the next video we'll go and style the text to look a bit nicer.